Hello and thanks for joining us from our studios in Israel. I'm Aaron Porras here with ILTV's Morning Brief.
It's official. Naama Issachcar has been released from Russian prison, and the Israeli Prime Minister has even picked her up in his government plane. The Israeli-American woman has been in jail for 10 months on drug smuggling charges, but now that she's received a presidential pardon from the Russian government, she can finally walk free. The now 27-year-old was on her way home to Israel from India when she was arrested back in April 2019. An alleged 10 grams of cannabis had been found in her luggage during a layover at a Moscow airport, and she was soon charged with drug smuggling and sentenced to 7.5 years in prison. The Israeli-American has denied the charges, though, and critics say that the punishment does not fit the crime. Naama is believed to have been a political pawn in a diplomatic struggle between Russia, Israel, and the United States over the release of Russian prisoner Alexei Burkov. Well, now it looks like Naama's nightmare has finally come to an end. Prime Minister Netanyahu is thanking his, quote, friend Putin for pardoning her, but senior Israeli officials claim that Naama's release did not actually have anything to do with Israel. Rather, it was a goodwill gesture towards the United States. Now it's crisis in the Middle East following the release of the United States' peace plan, as the Palestinians' call for aggression is being answered with riots and rockets. Tensions had started just hours into the early evening Wednesday with an attempted stabbing at the Temple Mount. 2 suspects, one armed with a knife, were arrested, and thankfully there are no reported injuries. But the IDF is still deploying reinforcements across Judea and Samaria, or the West Bank, as well as along the Gaza border, in preparation for further reprisals, which followed shortly after. Small demonstrations have continued across the Jordan Valley and West Bank, prompting limited response by the IDF, but including arrests, use of rubber bullets, tear gas, and at times even live fire. The PA's Wafa News reports 2 Palestinians as wounded by live fire, while several others were injured by non-lethal arms. Meanwhile, Palestinian terrorists in the Gaza Strip were firing mortar shells into southern Israel, and the Israeli Air Force has retaliated, hitting several Hamas targets across the region, including a weapons manufacturing site and an underground infrastructure. Again, though, no casualties are reported. Reports suggest Prime Minister Netanyahu is heading to Uganda Monday, and though there's no stated purpose for his trip, the Jerusalem Post reports that it's because the African nation is planning an embassy move. Sources close to the Ugandan president, as well as members of the Christian community, say that they've seen notes and heard murmurs that Uganda is moving its embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. And an evangelical pastor says that Ugandans regard Israel as the mother of Christianity, saying Christians in Uganda are no longer standing on one leg for Israel, but 2 in both prayer and action. Uganda has become increasingly evangelical, and earlier this week, the Jerusalem Post reported Christians coming out with their churches to pray for Jerusalem while adorned in Israeli flags. Following America's lead, Guatemala and Paraguay chose to move their embassies to Jerusalem as well, though Paraguay later changed its mind. And moving an embassy is considered by many to be a mark of solidarity with Israel, as both Israelis and Palestinians consider Jerusalem to be their capital.
That's all for now, but for more news from Israel, remember to like ILTV on Facebook and on Instagram, and to subscribe to us on YouTube. I'm Aaron Porras, and see you later with our main daily broadcast from Israel at 2 p.m. Eastern Time.